Good afternoon. Thank you. Welcome to the State Bar of Texas annual meeting. I want to welcome you as the 143rd president of the State Bar of Texas. I am absolutely thrilled. Yes, thank you. I am absolutely thrilled. I mean, look at this room. This is amazing. It's so good to see all of you here. We're going to have exceptional CLE this week and events. I hope you've looked at your program because there's a lot of things to do, and I hope you take advantage of all of it, beginning with this luncheon. The annual meeting, of course, is an appropriate time for lawyers, judges, and law students to come together, talk about the law, and make friendships and lasting bonds, and I hope you take advantage of that. We have a tremendous speaker today for lunch, and it's not me. We have a tremendous speaker today, and I'm so excited to hear from her. We also have some presentations, but at this time, if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the
Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And thank you to my kids for doing and leading the pledge. At this time, I would like to welcome Leslie Dipple up to the podium to present the Local Bar Services Award.
Hello, everyone. You think I would learn after a few of these being 5 foot tall to wear heels when I come and stand behind one of these podiums, but we never learn, do we? If you would just permit me just for a second to take a moment and thank some folks that I think don't often get the thanks that they should, and those are all of the people that work in the background to make an incredible event like this happen. The folks that were here earlier than we were this morning, making this room beautiful and setting up the chairs and the tables and everything that we're doing here to celebrate each other today. All of the professionals that are in the back making this delicious meal we're about to share. Just want to take a moment to recognize all of them that are milling about here and helping us and helping us have such a wonderful time today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have the privilege of serving as this year's Local Bar Services Committee Chair. And this committee, one of the wonderful things that it gets to do is help local bar associations and help them and witness the remarkable work that they accomplish. And one of the wonderful things that we get to do is help select one individual who has shown commitment, dedication, and loyalty to the bar at all levels of service. This award is named after the late Judge Sam Williams, who served many years as the secretary of the Northeast Texas Bar Association. He led his local bar organization into a strong organization that continues in that vein today. It is his enthusiasm and professional pride that we also commemorate today by giving this award each year to someone who emulates those ideals. And it's my honor to announce the winner of the 2024 Judge Sam Williams Award. He doesn't know it, but is being presented today to Professor Dwight McDonald. Teach it. I believe the thing I'm supposed to say now is Rectum. Is that right? Dwight has impacted the Lubbock community and beyond through teaching and working and bringing people, especially lawyers, together in a variety of forums. And I want to share just a few of those examples. As the 2022-23 president of the Lubbock Bar Association, Dwight continued the association's success by ensuring its members built strong personal connections, educating the public about law-related issues, And as a member and former president of the 100 Black Men of West Texas organization, Dwight has been a voice for those who have been often underrepresented. Additionally, he devotes his time and energy to other organizations that impact the legal community and the Lubbock community at large. He's an active member of both the Lubbock and Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Associations, a former chair of the Community Foundation of West Texas, a former director of court-appointed special advocates of the South Plains, and a former vice president of the Legal Aid Society, among many, many other volunteer roles. Since joining the Texas Tech Law faculty, Professor McDonald has participated in pro bono clinics and other events sponsored by the law school. As a professor in the clinical program, he focuses on providing pro bono representation every single day, and he does so because he cares about others. Moreover, he strives to instill a passion for helping others in all of his students, inspiring the next generation of lawyers. Dwight just finished his term as an elected director of the State Bar Board of Directors, where he served with distinction. His past volunteer roles with the State Bar include serving as chair of the Criminal Justice Section and as a member of the Texas Bar Journal Board of Editors. Dwight's dedication and commitment to service elevates him into a special category of servant leaders. Professor McDonald, why don't you just stand up one more time and get those guns up and stand to be recognized? You'll receive your award and take a picture with President Tisdale after the luncheon. So please don't forget to come back to the podium right after this luncheon for a special picture. The Local Bar Service Committee also honors local bar associations with the awards of merit, recognizing their overall bar year, including community service, member service, publications, and social events. As I read the award of merit winners, would you please stand to be recognized? Following the program, you'll also come back up here to the stage and take a picture with President Tisdale. The award of merit winners are Division 1, the Jefferson County Bar Association. Division 3, the Tarrant County Bar Association. And Division 4, the Dallas Bar Association. We have many outstanding local bar associations and thank them all for your exemplary service to your members, the community, and to the justice system. I would also like to recognize the remarkable local bar executive directors and staff members. All volunteers know that your dedication enables Texas lawyers to better serve their communities and provide access to justice. Will representatives of the local bar associations honored today please stand as I read your association's name? Following the program again, we're going to have a big party out here in front of the stage. Just approach and we'd love to take a picture so we can commemorate this day. And you can share it with your local bar associations and publish it in your own newsletters. So recipients of the State of Texas Bars Awards this year are, near and dear to my heart, the Austin Bar Association, the Dallas Bar Association, Dallas Women Lawyers Association, the Houston Bar Association, Jefferson County Bar Association, Lubbock Area Bar Association, the San Antonio Bar Association, and Tarrant County Bar Association. Thank you all to the local bar representatives who are present today, and thank you for your continued service that help make lawyers better so that we can better serve the public and therefore access to justice. Your commitment is truly inspiring. And now I'll invite President Tisdale back to the podium to honor the State Bar of Texas Pro Bono and Legal Services Award recipients and Law-Focused Education Award recipients. Following the program, you will also receive your award from President Tisdale, and we're going to take lots of pictures. So thank you. Please enjoy the rest of the program, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Leslie. And let's give a hand to Leslie Dipple as chair of that committee. That committee works so hard. So let's give a hand to her and the committee for that, please. Thank you. Every year, the State Bar of Texas honors attorneys who selflessly take on pro bono cases in their pursuit to go above and beyond to achieve access to justice for low-income Texans. I am so honored today to recognize these dedicated individuals, law firms, and legal service organizations of this year's State Bar of Texas Pro Bono and Legal Services Awards. As I read the winners' names, please stand to be recognized. Winners, after the luncheon, please come up front, like Leslie has said, to receive your award and take pictures. The Frank J. Skurlock Award honors an attorney for outstanding pro bono work. This year, the award goes to Nathaniel Peter Holzer of Corpus Christi. The J. Chris Doherty Legal Services Award recognizes an outstanding legal services staff attorney. This year's recipient is Lauren Joyner of Edinburgh. I love it. You brought your cheerleaders with you. The W. Frank Newton Award recognizes the pro bono efforts of attorney groups whose members have made outstanding contributions toward increasing access to legal services for the poor. This year, the award goes to Haynes and Boone of Dallas. The Pro Bono Award recognizes a volunteer attorney organization that has made outstanding contributions to guarantee that all Texans have access to the legal system. This year, the award goes to the Methodist Justice Ministry in Fort Worth. The Pro Bono Coordinator Award honors an individual for exceptional contributions to improve legal services for the poor while serving as a pro bono coordinator for a legal entity. This year, the recipient is Sylvia Chavez of Plainview. The Pro Bono Support Staff Award recognizes the invaluable contributions that non-attorney volunteers provide. Its purpose is to promote the awareness of pro bono activities that non-attorneys can participate in and to encourage non-attorneys who work in the legal profession to volunteer their time and specialty skills to pro bono projects within their community. This year's recipient is Susan Davis of Fort Worth. The Warren Burnett Award is named for the late legendary Texas attorney Warren Burnett and recognizes extraordinary contributions to improving the quality of criminal legal representation to indigent Texans. The award honors either an individual or organization for their work in the courtroom, legislature, or public sphere. This year's recipient is James D. Jim Bethke of San Antonio. Judge Merrill Hartman Pro Bono Judge Award honors a judge, sitting or retired, who has provided exemplary pro bono service, including outreach to attorneys to increase the quantity and quality of pro bono representation, modifications to court processes to increase access to justice, advocacy on behalf of access to justice, or service as a volunteer judge for pro bono clinics or other pro bono proceedings. The award is named after the late Judge Merrill Hartman of Dallas, a tireless advocate for low-income communities' access to justice. This year's recipient is Judge Laura J. Livingston, who is retired judge of Boston. We honor these dedicated leaders today, and they set the example of what we can all do in our communities, and we are so appreciative of all their work. Please give all the award recipients one more hand, please. There are so many great things about this profession, but one of the best things about being an attorney is the opportunity to help others. And this includes in a capacity that only the legal field is equipped to do. This includes instilling a commitment to liberty, justice, and the rule of law in elementary, middle, and high school students. Every year, attorneys work to kindle the spirit of justice among our youth through law-related activities and education, and it's an honor today to acknowledge some of the most dedicated among them. After the program, again, like everyone else, please come up to the front to receive your award and take your pictures. As I read the law-focused education recipients, please stand to be recognized. The State Board of Texas established the Nancy L. Garms Memorial Award in 1995 to honor an attorney or judge who emulates tireless service to the State Board of Texas law-focused education programs. This year's recipients are Mike Calvin and Judge Mark Hawker, both of Lubbock. The honorary Leon Jaworski Award for Teaching Excellence recognizes an individual in the field of education or law who has made an outstanding contribution to law-focused education by promoting and encouraging effective law-focused education programs in their schools or communities. This year, the award goes to Dr. Susan R. Hart of Conroe. Congratulations. One more round of applause for our law-related education award recipients. We are so grateful to you and all of the work that you do on behalf of the profession and the people of Texas. At this time, what you all have been waiting for, I know, I would like to invite our annual meeting co-chair, Courtney Barksdale Perez, and our keynote speaker, Camille Vasquez, to the stage, please. While they're coming up to the stage, as if she needs an introduction, Camille Vasquez is an NBC News legal analyst, most famous for her key role in the Johnny Depp defamation trial. A skilled litigator, as we all watched and saw her work, and now a partner at Brown Rudnick, Camille is sought after for her key insights and perspective on today's most high-profile legal cases, staying calm under pressure and protecting one's brand and reputation. A first-generation American-born in San Francisco, Camille is the daughter of Latino immigrants. Her mother is from Cuba, and her father is from Colombia. A rising star even before she joined Brown Rudnick, Camille was named one to watch by Best Lawyers in America for 2021-2022. She has extensive experience handling reputation management and crisis communications, and more than 10 years of experience as a trial lawyer and high-stakes disputes. Interviewing Camille today will be Courtney Barksdale Perez. Courtney is a principal at Carter, Arnett, Bennett, and Perez. Board certified in labor and employment law, Courtney has specialized knowledge representing individuals, corporations, and government entities in all phases of commercial and employment-related litigation from the risk management phase through the trial and on appeal. She is a frequent author and speaker on topics involving her subject matter expertise, as well as issues surrounding diversity and wellness in the legal profession. Please help me welcome Camille and Courtney.
Anyone have this?
Thank you all for that warm welcome, and thank you, Camille, for agreeing to be with us today. We are so honored to have you, and we are excited to hear about all of your insights and your experiences from the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. But before we delve into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you became to be a lawyer.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the warm welcome to Dallas, Texas. And I'm not just talking about the weather. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. A bit overwhelmed. This is quite a crowd, but Texas doesn't do anything small, right? I mean, you guys really know how to show up. So thank you again for the very warm welcome to Texas.
Absolutely.
So my background, in a nutshell, I am the daughter, very proud daughter of immigrant parents. And I often joke that my parents gave my sister and me two options, doctor, lawyer, pick one. They got one of each, thankfully. I am the lawyer, as you all know, and my sister is a pediatrician in Los Angeles, California. So I wasn't particularly great at math and science. They weren't my strongest subjects in school. So it seemed like arguing, and my mother would describe me as a mouthy little child. So it seemed like a natural fit that I could argue in court for a profession.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so how did you choose? You get to law school, you're trying to figure out what path. Nobody tells you what it's like to actually be a lawyer at their law school. So how did you wind up at your firm?
So I just figured that lawyers all did the same thing, which was go to court. One of the first cases that actually made quite an impact on me was the people of the state of California versus O.J. Simpson. That was one of the first televised trials, as you all will recall, in the United States. And I was in 6th grade. So I wouldn't have known then how my life would come to mirror that trial some nearly 30 years later when I was a practicing lawyer. But that trial had such an impact on me because of the lawyers. Not necessarily the, dark nature of the criminal case, but the lawyering that I witnessed as a young child. It had such an impression on me. And I always knew that I wanted to be a trial lawyer. In high school, I did some mock trial work with some wonderful district attorneys that acted as our coaches. And I just knew that being in the courtroom was where I belonged. I didn't exactly know how I was going to get there, but I started my career at an insurance defense firm, a rather large one. And for those that know insurance defense work, they really throw you in the deep end. I did my first deposition in my first year of practice. I did my first trial after 3 years of practice. And I'm sure there were things that I learned that were bad habits, and then I learned some really good habits from just watching lawyers at work. Some of my favorite things to do still to this day is come into a hearing early and watch all of you as masters in your crafts do what you do. And that's one of the advices that I give to young lawyers is learn from other lawyers doing what you want to do. Not necessarily you have to copy that style, but you can adapt and take pieces of advice from those lawyers and their styles and make it your own.
Wonderful. I love that you mentioned the O.J. Simpson trial. We're going to talk about some of the similarities that showed up in your trial, the Deputy Heard trial. But tell us, how did you come as an associate, working hard with your head down at your law firm, to represent Johnny Depp?
I was an associate even during the Deputy Heard trial, as probably most of you know at this point. It was only after that I got a phone call from my CEO and now managing partner of the firm and said, "Congratulations, partner. You're a partner now." And I said, "Okay."
They would have been a fool not to make you a partner after that. Well, that's for sure.
Yes, they definitely did the right thing by all of us on the team, because the team was really made up of the majority of associates. And so after I became a partner, it was incredibly important to me that everyone on that team be promoted when they were up for partner. And I can now say that every single one of them have been promoted to partner. So I'm really proud of that. But the way I started working on Johnny's matters, he was a dream client for, every partner in this room. He was very litigious. So I had just started as a firm about 6 years prior, and he had sued his former business managers, the Mandel Group. And I was a new associate at the firm, and it was a really document-intensive case. And so that case, I was thrown in to really manage the documents. But as everyone knows in this room, if you know the documents, you know the case, and you know the client. So I got to know him from the documents, probably better than he knew himself at that point. And I was also the only woman on the team. And I know that sounds a little strange, but I was the only woman on that team originally. And so if you know something about Mr. Depp, he was raised by a single mother. He has sisters. He listens to women. And so some of my colleagues on the team thought, oh, if you need something done, if we need Johnny to sign one of those verifications and that discovery response, why don't we send Camille up? And, she can sit there and go through the discovery response with a pen. And it was through that we built a rapport and we built a relationship. And he learned to trust me and trust my advice. And that's how we became super close as clients, as my client, but also as a friend. And so when the Deputy Heard case, he was thinking about filing it, I was not a proponent. I will go on the record and say that I was not a proponent of him filing the case. If the way I knew him, he's an extremely private person. And when you file a defamation case, you put your name, your reputation at issue. And so I did not think that it was wise for him to pursue this because of the nature of his personality. And so I told him as much, and he said something to me that has stuck with me to this day. He asked me a question. He said, "Camille, have you ever been accused of something that you didn't do?" And I had to really stop and think about that because I don't think I had. And he said to me, I said in response, "No, I don't think so, Johnny. I don't think I have." And he said, "Well, then talk to me once you have, kid." And I said, "Okay, buckle up because you're in for it. This is not going to be an easy case for you to bring." And he said, "I have the truth on my side, and that's all that matters. We're going to get through it because truth is the only defense to defamation. So I have it on my side, and we're going to pursue this."
That's right. That's right. Well, tell us a little bit for those of you who are not among the 33 million people who watch this trial on television. Tell us a little bit about the background of the facts, a little bit about the case, if you would, Camille, before we get into the meat.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Johnny Depp, Amber Heard were first in a romantic relationship, then they ended up getting married. It was 6 years in total, relatively short, 15-month marriage. At the end of that marriage, Miss Heard went in to Los Angeles Superior Court and obtained an ex parte TRO, or restraining order, against Mr. Depp, and also filed for divorce. And in that TRO filing, she alleged that she was the victim of domestic abuse at his hands. Mr. Depp was not in Los Angeles or even in the country at the time that she obtained that TRO. So he woke up to really a news flash, right, of the whole world finding out that she was alleging he was a domestic abuser. So he remained quiet for 6 years. They settled the divorce privately and confidentially, as most celebrities tend to do. And the TRO went away. She never pursued a permanent restraining order, and that just went away. It was part of the settlement. About 5 years later, she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. And a lot of people will ask me, why was the case filed in Virginia, in Fairfax County, Virginia? So a little trivia for everyone in the room. The Washington Post is actually printed in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is how we were able to establish jurisdiction there. So she wrote an op-ed where she implied that she was a victim of both domestic abuse and sexual assault at his hands. And she did that, and we established that she did that by timestamping when she became a public figure representing domestic abuse survivors and victims. And so the court agreed with us that the case could proceed in Virginia, that it could proceed, that Mr. Depp could proceed there in Virginia against Ms. Heard for 3 statements there in Fairfax County, Virginia, for defamation. And that's how the case came to be televised about 2.5 years after that.
So you're about to file this case. You represent an incredibly famous person.
Yes.
You know, as soon as you file it, you're stepping onto the public stage. How did you prepare yourself to take that step, to know that you were potentially going to be thrust onto a national platform? I recognize that it took a life of its own, right? But you recognize in filing the case that you're stepping into a very public forum on behalf of a very public person. What did you do to prepare yourself to make that filing?
You know, for the filing, I actually wasn't part of the original filing because I, again, wasn't the biggest proponent of this case. And so I was not part of the original team that filed the case. I was also busy helping Mr. Depp with another matter that he was right at the end of. We were about 2 months away from trial on that matter where he was suing his former attorneys. So I was not part of the original filing. So my name is actually not on that pleading. But I will say that I got involved shortly thereafter, and I was part of a big team of lawyers, as you can imagine. This is, as you said, a really high-profile individual that had his pick of lawyers. The benefit that I had, and I think the benefit that I brought to the team, was my institutional knowledge of him and his companies and the documents, and where we could find the evidence that could prove that he was telling the truth and Ms. Heard was not. So I came into the case as one of the many associates that were staffed on this matter. Obviously, I had a personal relationship with him at this point because I had worked with him for a number of years. But I would say that the way that we prepared ourselves for the trial, which by that point we knew it was going to be televised, we knew it was going to get a lot of attention, just because of the nature of the parties, not necessarily because of the lawyers, but because of the nature of the parties and what they do for a living. We prepared by kind of shutting everything down internally in terms of reminding friends and family to not post pictures or, tell stories to journalists, things that perhaps we had mentioned as we had been preparing for this trial. Just nothing obviously privileged, but any information that they had about us personally, just ask them to keep in mind that we have to maintain, some level of confidentiality, right? About our lives and the clients as well, and what we were doing and where we were doing things and preparing. But I don't think anyone could have been prepared for the media storm that came upon the entire team in the way that it did. It really did take on a life of its own. So the best thing I did was just make sure everything was private on social media and, LinkedIn, and made sure that, my small family and small friends kept it close to the vest.
Absolutely. And so how did you, I want to talk about witness prep, because you put on Mr. Depp at the trial.
I did not
put him on?
No, it was Jessica Lyers.
Okay.
Very
so your colleague put him on direct, and then you handled the cross-examination of Amber Heard.
That's right.
Okay. So I want to talk about your professional process. Were you involved in Mr. Depp's prep since you knew him so well?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about your process for how you prepared him, not only to be put on direct and to tell his story, to make sure that your jury got a chance to know who he was, but you're also preparing him to be watched by TikTokers and YouTube bloggers and Instagram and video posts and blog posts and podcasters, a world of people who we had the O.J. Simpson trial, and of course everyone was talking about it while it was on television. But the interesting piece to think about this trial, at least to witness as kind of a spectator, was the life that it took on as social media got involved and the effect that social media had on this trial. You saw clips here, there, everywhere, Facebook newsfeed. So it wasn't just on the traditional news media outlets, but it was on every social media outlet that you could think of. I mean, just a constant news cycle. So in your prep with Mr. Depp, how are you getting him ready to really essentially take the world stage in a scripted, but as you anticipate, cross-examination in an unscripted way?
Right. It's a great question. Every client's different. And I don't have to tell you, a room full of lawyers, this, but every client's different and everyone has their own process. For him, he's actually got an amazing memory. He's extremely good at remembering details of stories. And he's a storyteller. He's an actor, right? So he's good when he is genuinely himself and is given the opportunity to tell his stories. So the way we did it actually is we did not write a script for him. We just reminded him of different incidents that we needed to have him address and give his perspective to the jury. And we gave him the point questions that we were going to ask him to kind of tip him off, but we really wanted him to talk. And we didn't know how much leeway the other side was going to give us for him, because he can be at times long-winded. And so we were worried that just because it's strategy that they were going to object narrative, right? Because he can kind of carry on with his stories. But I felt like when he took the stand, the whole world held its breath. This is the first time this man was able to finally say, in a protected, privileged setting, I didn't do this. And to tell the story of what transpired between somebody that he very much loved. This was his ex-wife and someone that he cared for. And to this day, I still think has a lot of care for, in spite of everything that they have been through. While this was extremely toxic, a toxic relationship, he did not abuse her. But it was the first time, and even the other side just let him talk. And I think actually that was a mistake, if you want my honest opinion. I think that was a mistake on their part to let him talk the way he did so easily without interrupting the flow. But it was about giving him the forum and giving him the cues in terms of the questions to remind him, because we knew he could tell the story in his own words, genuinely. And we started from the beginning. That was something that was really important for us, is to tell who this person is from the beginning, from childhood, because the childhood stories were going to explain some of his reactions to their relationship struggles in the end. And so the fact that he was abused by his own mother and his reaction to that abuse as a child was very similar to his reaction in the marriage then with Amber Heard. And for him to tell that story in his own words, we can't script that as lawyers. That is for him to do in his own authentic, genuine way. And I think he did the most phenomenal job.
So how did you decide? You're sitting with your trial team. You know you have to personalize Mr. Depp. You know, I know Johnny Depp as Edward Scissorhands, right? My daughter, who is here today, knows Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean. So how do you tell that story? How did you put together your witnesses who you would call to help you tell that story? Tell me about your witness strategy.
Witnesses, we had a lot of people that wanted to testify. I mean, almost too many people. Again, if you know something about him, the people close to him have been close to him for 20, 30 years. His bodyguards, for example, they're the same bodyguards for 15 years, one of them, and 20-some years, the other. I mean, this is loyalty and not blind loyalty. I want to make that very clear. These are men that were sheriffs, that were part of the police departments. They would never have stood by and let anyone abuse a woman. And that allegation was so insulting to them. And so they were incensed and they wanted to testify because that was the allegation that was being made, that they stood by as this poor woman was being battered and abused. And both of them said to me unequivocally, we would never have stood for that. I don't care who the client is. We have lots of job opportunities. We could have worked for a lot of celebrities or high net worth individuals. We don't have to work for him. We choose to work for him because of the quality of man that he is. So we would have never stood by and watched this happen. So in terms of witness strategy, we had too many witnesses almost. What I think was interesting about this case, Johnny Depp was actually the plaintiff. So he brought the case. But it's an interesting legal strategy, how you respond to allegations made when you have the burden and you actually are the one bringing the case. So we put a lot of time, we reserved a lot of time at the outset of the case for a rebuttal. Because it's difficult for Johnny Depp to respond to allegations that have not yet been made. Amber Heard had not been called, and we thought about calling her as an adverse witness in our case in chief, but we decided against that. Instead, what we did is we told Johnny's story, who he was, and that was a promise we made to the jury. We said, you think you know who Johnny Depp is, but by the end of this trial, you're going to actually know who the man is. The man behind Edward Scissorhands or Jack Sparrow. You're going to actually know who he is, and you're going to hear that from his own words. And so it was his story to tell. And then we reserved the rebuttal case for rebutting the allegations that inevitably Ms. Heard was going to make. There were a number of incidents, some of which she had testified to prior in different cases, and others that, were new in the middle of the trial. So we needed the time to not only put him back on the stand, but also because this case was televised and because it received so much attention, the amount of rebuttal witnesses that were normal people from around the country, around the world, that reached out to us and said, I was there, and I was there on vacation with them, actually, and I didn't witness that. Or I actually witnessed something completely different than what Ms. Heard said, or that witness testified to. So it was sourcing through which ones were legitimate witnesses that we could bring. And so we ended up bringing about 4, maybe 5 rebuttal witnesses that were not on our list. We never thought we were going to be able to call them just because they were people that wanted to tell the truth, had witnessed something many years prior, had never had an opportunity to say, that's not how I remember it. And what a gift that was, obviously, for our client. It turned out to be the biggest gift. But witness planning was difficult because of the rebuttal case and the importance that the rebuttal case was going to have.
So how do you pick a jury for a trial like this? They had already both received so much media attention. They are in the spotlight as professionals for what they do every day, all day. We are living in an era of #MeToo. People are very sensitive to domestic violence issues, sexual violence issues. How do you pick a jury for a case like that?
Strategically, we worked with a jury consultant. And again, what an amazing benefit that was to be able to work with someone. So we started out by doing a small survey of people in Fairfax County and kind of trying to understand what they knew about the case, the way that they felt about these people, these issues. And that informed some of the questions that the questionnaire, the judge insisted that both sides submit questions that the prospective jury was going to have to fill out in their questionnaire. And then I actually was the attorney tasked with doing voir dire, and that's your first opportunity. That's the first impressions, right, of your team, of your client, of you. And you get one shot at it. So for me, what was important is that they felt comfortable. It's such an awkward process. I mean, sitting there in the jury box with a bunch of strangers, everyone's staring at you. You have Johnny Depp on one side, Amber Heard on the other. I can't even imagine these poor people, how they felt. But what I wanted them to do is feel comfortable with me. As a lawyer, I think that genuineness is the most important trait you can have. Being confident, but being genuine to who you are and authentic, so that somebody feels like they can open up and tell you, you know what, I really don't feel comfortable serving on this jury, or I was sexually assaulted and I, don't think I can be impartial. I mean, that's incredibly hard to say to someone that you don't know, right? That you think is like, oh, the lawyer that represents this guy, he's accused of something terrible. To have them open up to you, I think you do that by being genuine and showing some weaknesses and vulnerabilities yourself, right? I'm obviously young, and I was an associate, so I made sure to tell them that and made sure to say, like, look, I'm an associate, so I'm here doing my job and representing my client. Yes, he's Johnny Depp, but I also know him personally, and I just want you to give us an opportunity to show you who he actually is. In this trial, can you be open-minded? Can you be fair? So that's how we chose the jury.
You mentioned it was important to you to have those jurors understand who Johnny Depp really was. And you are in a position where you're preparing to cross Amber Heard, who is an actress, right?
Yeah.
Professionally. So how do you, I want to talk about your planning phase and getting ready to cross-examine her. And certainly you had the same goal, which is to make sure that those jurors knew who Amber Heard, the person, was, versus maybe some of the acting skills that they may have been getting to see from the stand. So walk us through that process.
We were very lucky in this case because what we had was something that I understand not every lawyer has. We actually had recordings of these two individuals during their relationship and marriage, where they recorded each other with each other's permission and knowledge. And why some therapists thought that was a good idea to recommend to these two, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to tell my husband that. Hold on. The argument. Record.
We may need this. Well, it worked in our favor because we had hours and hours and hours of recordings. And to me, those recordings were key for our case because never once in those recordings did you hear Ms. Heard accused Mr. Depp of physical or sexual abuse. And that was, to me, the winning piece of evidence that we had. And it also showed who they each were in this relationship, how they actually argued. You heard it in real time during the relationship. This wasn't after the fact. This was in real time. So we had those. We had studied them extensively. I mean, I could almost quote some of these recordings, and they were hours and hours of tape. And what we did is we crafted the cross-examination around the fact that it almost didn't matter what Ms. Heard's responses were for a lot of the questions. What matters to us, and in this case, was the questions and how we weaved the story through the questions. What we wanted was the jury paying attention to me or to us and our questions. Her answers, for the most part, didn't matter. Sometimes she gave us great responses that we capitalized on. So you obviously have to listen when you're in cross-examination mode, because the witness will give you information that you can then capitalize on, or even taking a long pause just to let that answer sit there and make sure that the jury heard it. That's effective as well. But for the most part, we were telling our story through the questions and then impeaching her, because we knew that she wasn't going to be able to remember everything she had said. She had given many multiple versions of the same incidents. And then we had the recordings, which also described these incidents. So what we did is we were prepared to impeach her every step of the way. And we had chosen, these clips of the recordings where they were talking about the same arguments, except in real time. And then we would confront her with her own words. To me, that was the key of this cross-examination. It was, how do we confront her with her own words to expose to the jury who she really was in this relationship? Because we didn't know who she was going to be on that stand. We didn't know if she was going to be incredibly sympathetic or really in tears, or indignant or angry. We didn't know who she was going to be, but we did know who she was in that relationship, and we knew that through those recordings.
Well, your cross-examination was so effective, and I think to watch you hold up under that trial with so much grace and so much poise. You were so eloquent. You would have never known that there were so many cameras in the room, but I think your preparation really is what came through for me. I mean, you can't effectively impeach a witness unless you know exactly what they said, when they said it, and you were there ready to impeach her every time that needed to happen. How did you handle such intense media scrutiny, such intense public scrutiny? I mean, I'm sure this may have been the first time that you see your name all over the internet, see TikToks of yourself and video.
I didn't know what TikTok was. During this trial started, I promise. I was like, Tick what? Some of my colleagues were like, Camille, it's the new hit thing. And I was like, okay, well, what does that say about me?
Right. So how did you deal with that during the trial? Did you just shut out the noise? What was your method, your strategy for handling all of that media scrutiny and public attention as the trial was going on?
For the most part, we did shut it out because we didn't have the time. We were so busy. Again, trial lawyers know this. When you're in trial, you're in the trenches, right? I mean, of course, live, breathe, eat this trial. And this was no different, except that it was on national or international news and television. So you felt that added pressure, right? But of course, as the trial came on, friends would send, memes here and there. And we would sometimes in the war rooms, indulge ourselves for 5 or 10 minutes and watch some of the funny newest memes of the trial. Most of it was just really kind of silly and funny to us. The media scrutiny, when it started being directed at me, I didn't respond all that well to it, because I became a lawyer because there's a lot of us, as evidenced by this term. I did not seek out limelight or fame. I represent some famous people, but I'm reminded of something that Johnny has always said, and it's so touching and sad, but he says, I live my life behind windows, car windows, hotel windows, and train windows. And it's so true. Until you lose a bit of your self when you're thrust into the limelight, you don't know how it feels, how invasive and personal. And I had a very small taste of it, but I wouldn't recommend it personally for anyone, other than to say that it's given me amazing opportunities. And I just stay close to the people, I call them my board of directors. And they're like my parents and my sister and brother-in-law and a couple close friends and colleagues. And they're the ones that I lean on. But even Johnny, to his credit, when the media firestorm kind of started happening about me, couple of things he said to me, you can't let them bother you. You can't let it bother you. You just gotta ignore it. It's not worth it. And then there were obviously allegations made about him and I dating, which, let me just say, categorically untrue. Okay. Categorically untrue. I was with somebody at the time. I'm still with that person. He knows my partner, and he actually said to my partner very sweetly, like, sorry about all that news, press buddy. He's like, promise you it was never true. And like, oh, well, I guess there's worse people I could be compared to, than you. So, anyways, he was really sweet about it, and incredibly humble and just a good guiding force because he's dealt with it his whole life.
Absolutely. What was your biggest challenge during the trial? Looking back on it, reflecting, having the benefit of it being kind of in your past now, right? What do you think was the biggest challenge for you?
I think it was overcoming the assumption that because he was a man, because he had struggled with sobriety, he probably had committed these heinous acts. And it's how do you overcome that presumption, in a society, in a world. And by the way, this is why I think the trial had such an impact. It's not just because it was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I think it was more a testament to we're better as a society than assuming that you are guilty upon accusation. We are entitled to our day in court. And I think because of the woke culture and the pendulum swinging maybe too far, I think that this trial showed all of us that we need to stop and give actually the accused an opportunity to defend him or herself before we just pass judgment and cancel somebody. And I think that's the reason this trial had such an impact on society as a whole. But this was a case, yes, it was a Me Too case, and I know you mentioned that. But to us, and this was one of the many things that one of the brilliant writers on the team wrote that Ben Chu, my partner, and I said, and we repeated to the jury, this was the only Me Too case without any other Me Toos. And that spoke volumes about this case. Usually when you hear somebody's accused in these type of allegations, the name of the movement is Me Too, because other victims will stand up and say, Me Too. Well, we didn't have that in this case. What we had were Johnny Depp's former wives, girlfriends, partners say, that's not the person I know. He never behaved that way. I mean, we had Kate Moss come. She has not been involved in any single litigation, even her own divorce. She's never been involved in, she's never testified in court in England or in the US. And she came forward because she was so sick and tired of this allegation being made that Johnny Depp had abused her by Miss Heard. Miss Heard had made that allegation twice. She made it in the UK, in the trial that took place in the UK, and then she made it again in Virginia. And that's when my partner, Ben Chu, did that fist pump kind of scene around the world. And I was ready to, kill him because we didn't have Kate Moss yet lined up. I was like, Ben, you can't do that. But he was so excited because she had opened the door, right? So now we could bring her as a rebuttal witness. And so she did. She very graciously agreed to testify because she said, this is not the person that I was in a relationship with. And he never abused me. In fact, he came to my aid. I had slipped and fallen, and he came and scooped me up, and, he didn't push me down any flight of stairs. So it was important to her, and it was important to all these women and past friends and partners of his to step forward and say, that's not the person I know. And I will not stand by and let his whole life be ruined by a single set of allegations. So I think that overcoming the Me Too presumption or assumption, that was probably the hardest part of the case. How do we do that?
What did you enjoy best about that entire experience? I mean, it's very intense. It's a ton of work. It takes up your whole life, right? You've made sacrifices from your friends, from your family.
Excuse me.
What did you enjoy best about it?
It was being able to give him his life back. He deserved it. I'd grown to care I grew to care for all my clients. It's such a privilege and honor to do what we do for a living. At least I feel that it is. To be an advocate, to be a voice for someone, especially when they're going through the most difficult time of their lives. And so this case was the most personal to him. It was the most important to him, and it wasn't about the money. The money was not important. In fact, even after he got a big judgment and the jury spoke very clearly about how they felt about these two people, Johnny's response to it was, Amber is a mother now, and I don't want to take money from her. So we settled the case. It's public knowledge at this point for $1 million. And he took that money and he actually donated it, not pledged it. For those in the room that followed the trial and know the difference between the two words, but he actually donated that money to different organizations that were close and dear to his heart. So when I say that it was to give him his life and his name back, it's that. And that's how we humanized him. Yes, we were talking about a big personality, a lot of money, a name that most people in the world know or recognize, but it could be your father, it could be your son, it could be your daughter, it could be someone close to you, it could be you. And you're accused of something that you didn't do, and your whole life is taken away from you. Your job, your friends and family won't look at you the same. And when you realize what's the value of your name, what's the value of your reputation, what weight do you put on that? That's how we humanized him. Because it's all of us. What is the name and what is the value of our name?
Thank you. Thank you for that. After the trial, as lawyers, we all know that we struggle as a profession to deal with the stress that comes with our profession, right? We have a high rate of suicide. We have a high rate of depression, anxiety, mental illness, burnout. Yeah, absolutely. Issues of sobriety like you dealt with in the trial. How did you decompress after such an intense, long, drawn-out trial experience?
I tried to disappear. I went to Europe and spent a little time away. I realized quickly, though, that a lot of people watch the trial all over the world. So in spite of my best efforts to kind of lay low, yes, I was recognized a lot that summer, but I just try to spend time with the people that are closest to me. And they're still the same people. You know, I went back to the same home that I, had before. I mean, not much in my life really actually changed other than, a lot of people would come up and say, you did a great job, or, are you really that lawyer? It's like, but other than that, I mean, nothing really changed. I don't want it to. Like I said, I really love what I get to do. It's such a privilege to do it.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing now. So you come back from the trial, you have this great success, you're thrust into the national spotlight. You are obviously a very formidable defamation lawyer, right? Tell us about your professional life. You decompress, you get back from Europe, you head back to the office. Tell us what you did next and what you're doing now.
One of the first calls I got actually is from one of your partners here, Ray Thomas. So Ray and I actually are working on it. Yes, cheers to Ray. Love Ray. Amazing, great lawyer. So Ray actually called and had a client that we're going to work together on, and we've been working on that matter. It's for Gloria Trevi. And I know that case has a storied history here in Texas and the U.S. Supreme Court and now in California. So I'm just continuing to work. I can't stress to you how much I love what I do, except to say that I'm really busy. And I also realize how privileged I am, how lucky I am that I get to choose my clients now. And I don't take that lightly, because 2 years ago, I didn't have that option. It's whatever case the partner gave you, and that partner was lucky to have those cases. So I know how blessed I am to be able to choose my clients. But for me, it's about, I have to make sure that I believe the client, believe in them and their case, and really feel like I could help them. And I do a variety of cases, not just defamation. Yes, I know that that's what we're known for now, but I enjoy being in court and in trial. So I'll go to any trial, really, as long as I have a specialist there, first sharing it with me that can guide me through that specific area of law. But I love being in court. It's the most fun I can ever have.
Absolutely. Once the trial bug bites you, and good luck getting
over it. I completely agree. I do have a variety of commercial litigation cases.
Well, can you tell me about what you took from that trial and how you translate that to a completely different type of case? What's your professional philosophy now? What have you taken from that trial and you try to put into your daily practice?
The importance of one of the pillars that the firm is brand and reputation management. And it's one of the things that the firm actually did quite well, in my opinion, is capitalize on yes, the trial, but how do you translate that to more work, right? I mean, we're service providers, so it's how do you attract more business? And it's through this brand and reputation management practice area or pillar. And it's an area of law that a lot of, especially the big law firms, yet aren't focused on, but yet clients are absolutely focused on it. I can't tell you how many clients say, and whether they are corporations, high net worth individuals, or famous people that everyone in this room knows, they all say the same thing. I can hire a really good lawyer. There's a lot of really good lawyers in this country, but I need lawyers that understand that winning in the court of law is great and important, but winning in the court of public opinion is just as important, if not more important sometimes. And how do you do that? So what we do across all our cases, really the majority of our cases, is craft messaging, working both with internal and external PR and crisis managers, and how you craft your messaging. Because the way I tell clients is every brief that you file is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to tell your story. It's an opportunity to educate the judge, the jury eventually, the public. And how you interact with journalists is also, it's a huge service to your clients. You're building their brand. You know, something that we did quite well, in my opinion, in the Depp case was focus on who Johnny Depp is as a person before, during, and after the trial. The crisis, it will pass. I know clients don't ever feel like it passes. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in crisis. Like, this is never going to end. And sometimes it takes years, and I understand that. But they will get over that crisis. That crisis will end. And who they are as an individual or as a corporation, as a brand, that's what remains. And so how you capitalize on that crisis, whether it's to make them come out better for it or unscathed or, yes, with some bruises, but how they recover, that is so crucial to trial strategy and litigation strategy. So working with PR professionals is something that we do across all our cases now, for the most part, whether they are, again, internal at the firm, or we recommend that the clients hire external crisis managers to help guide us as we tell the story.
Fantastic. Well, we have had the opportunity to honor many bar leaders here today, people who are really making a difference in their community, making a difference in the profession. And we have a lot of young lawyers here today who are looking up to those folks in the bar. What advice do you have for young lawyers who are inspired by your career, who are inspired by the people that we've heard from today? What advice would you leave them with as we have as we close today?
Gosh, there's no substitute to hard work. There really isn't. I know it sounds cliche, but you will be challenged, especially if you are young or look young. You have to be the most prepared person in the room. If for nothing else, to have the confidence so that when you are challenged, you have that it factor to stand up for yourself and say, actually, I do know the answer to that. Or, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to get back to you and get back to that person. And then what I often tell people is I fully acknowledge that what happened to my career and my life is what I like to call earned luck. And that earned luck is, the earned part is the hard work, and the luck is the opportunity. And all of us will have that opportunity. It may not be a case that's televised or representing Johnny Depp, but it's that opportunity to take that first witness in your first trial, or to stand up to that partner and say, I'd really like to deliver the closing argument if you'll allow me, and let me tell you why I think I'm the best person to do that job. But you have to be prepared, and the hard work is what makes you prepared for when that opportunity comes. And when that opportunity comes, just seize it. Seize it with confidence, and you can do it. Trust me, if I can do it, all of you can do it.
Thank you so much, Camille. Please join me in thanking Camille for joining us today, for giving us such great insight, for giving us the inside scoop to one of the trials that I think we'll all remember for a very long time to come. Thank you all today, to all of our recognees and honorees today. Thank you so much for your commitment and for your service to our profession. Please remember to come up to the stage and get your awards, and please remember to have your photo opportunity as well. We have a great rest of the convention scheduled for you all. We hope that you enjoy it. And thank you all for sharing your lunch hour with us.
This is I said it's easy to go to work. Yes, John.